a message for my people.
Nick Dad, baby. We the new label.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, son.
Now this the black sheep sticking its home. I need a crib like I'm Gatsby.
I need it.
In hand, just understand my
Pockets that deep.
with nothing to prove. I ain't got nothing to do. When they can't compete and I got nothing to lose.
What's good, everybody? We are back here on the webcam. This is what the Thursday shows are going to be looking like moving forward, just because of how busy the schedule has gotten, and also because with it not being football season, fun fact now, due to new management, I have to be paying for the studio time. And with the show taking just a little bit of a back step once football ends, like during the football season, you guys know I'm very transparent. I'm always honest. The show fucking crushes, right? Because you could actually bet for the weekend. There's one game. It's a lot better. Now, come NBA playoff time, everyone knows that I love betting on NBA playoffs. I'm sure we're going to have our very special guest back on come playoff time. But a couple of housekeeping notes. George is going to join this interview conversation with our guy Combo in just a little bit. But all things Veterans Minimum are at Veterans Minimum. At Nick Day is 10 as you can find me. And enough of that. If you guys saw the title of the episode, my dog, Combo, back. Not in the building, but on the show. It's good, bro.
Gotta love technology. I feel like I'm in Vegas right now. All is well, bro. And happy birthday. I know I sent you an IG message, but we got to get that on wax. So happy belated birthday, bro. I love the progression, man. I remember when you were in your house in Queens doing podcasts, and now you're out in Vegas doing your thing. And it's so great to see your progression, bro.
Yo, I appreciate it, man. And I always say this, I had a couple of the guys come and visit this past weekend for my birthday, and then there was UFC. Combo, they came out here to watch the UFC, but I'm going to say that they came out here for the birthday weekend. Hey. We had a great time, and it was cool, right? Like, I always say this because recently I've been doing a lot of reflecting, right? And I don't want to get too deep, but it's always cool to, see, because my biggest problem is that I can't relax, right? Like, I'm very go, what's next? And I think it's the New Yorkers in this, right?
100%,
Like
100%.
it's definitely a New York thing, especially living in the West Coast. I think of the West Coast as more flashy and finesse, right? It's a lot more laid back and chill. It's 65 degrees right now in Vegas. I was in a tank top walking Darce before, my dog. And in New York, I've heard it's been a pretty rough winter.
Yeah. So you're saying like the West Coast is more like Karl Anthony Towns and New York's more like Julius Randle?
Man, the two names you mentioned, right? Still a very polarizing conversation for many. Nah, dude, so this is actually cool to discuss, right? Because I think teams represent their cities in more ways than one, right? Like people that get behind the Knicks fans, they want a nitty-gritty blue-collar team, rebounds, elbows, flagrants, get in your face, right? Like fucking Stewart on the Pistons. Everyone's like, build the guy a statue.
Yeah.
And what does he play? Like 18 minutes a game, draws mad fouls and flagrants, has gotten in LeBron's face, has gotten in Steph Curry's face. So the teams reflect the cities, right? Like when I think of LA, bro, you think of the Lakers. What do you think of? Let me ask you first before I give you my answer.
I think of pretty much of what you said, a very laid back lifestyle, not as many like go-getters, like on the grind like New York. Just it's more cool, it's more chill, it's more relaxed. And I think a dose of that is cool in your life. I'm from New York, so I'm a go-getter just like you. But I do think, and we've talked about this before, when somebody from New York brings that New York mentality somewhere else, they thrive even more. And we've talked about this before, and I think that's why you're thriving, Nick.
For sure, man, for sure. And I think it's a real thing, and sometimes you don't realize it until you actually leave your hometown, right? Like I remember reading this one article one time from the Wall Street Journal that 75% of people in the U.S. never leave their hometown. And it's like 65% of those people, or 60 or 65, they never move an hour away or an hour past where they were born.
Crazy.
And it's eye-opening, it's very eye-opening. And to just bring it back full circle. The reason why I mentioned like the Lakers, right? The Lakers, their whole tenure as a franchise, they're flashy and finesse. And they always, bro, the Lakers ain't waiting to develop talent. The Lakers need now. You look at the history of the league. They traded for Kareem, right? They draft Magic. So Magic's probably a bad example in this scenario. But
Shaq.
they traded for Shaq. They traded for Kobe.
Yeah.
They traded for Pau Gasol. Now, I know Kobe never really played for anybody else until he got to the Lakers, but they always bring the big names. They traded for LeBron. They traded for AD. Now they just traded for Luka. So for me, LA is flashy. It's laid back. They want now results. And, you know, our guy George that just joined the call right now, he's a lifelong West Coaster. He's born and raised in Vegas. Him and I always have these funny conversations, Combo, about like, you know, he has a lot of New York to him, right? He's very personable. I don't know if you two have ever met. You know, he got the chains out. He's blinged out. Combo, have you ever met George?
No.
Have you been on the show with him?
No, but it's great to meet you, George. How are things, man?
It's a pleasure to meet you too, Combo. Things are going great. I assume. Oh, hold on here. I just want to make sure I'm good. I assume you know that Vegas is going to be getting a basketball team here soon, so I can like represent and love basketball the way that you guys do on the East Coast. So, how are you doing, dude?
All is well. How's that going to look? Is that going to be Dallas moving to Vegas, or is that going to be LeBron owning the Vegas team? I mean, I know it's going to happen. It's just going to depend on how it happens, you know?
I think FanDuel is actually planning on owning a team, and that's how FanDuel will get into Vegas, because they've been trying to find a way to fucking maneuver themselves in for the past 15 years. So if they're a basketball team and it's owned by FanDuel, I think it's a new expansion team.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's good for the league.
Yeah.
For sure. And to that point, right? Like a lot of people always ask, especially this past weekend, right? Combo, us in New York, we have all the sports books available. The most popular sports books in the country are DraftKings and FanDuel. They're not available in Nevada. You can't play.
Crazy.
Now, the grade A degenerate that I am, sometimes I make the trip out to Arizona. Shout out to the Hoover Dam. You get the location services, and bam, all of a sudden I could play FanDuel and DraftKings. Slide, cheat, and steal, baby. It's legal. We just got to put some miles on the car and go out for a commute. But to George's point, that's the way that FanDuel could make their way into Nevada and bring an NBA team. Because when the daily fantasy stuff first started popping off, the sports books here in Vegas, they were worried about people not coming to the casino.
Okay.
And the daily fantasy was not betting. Now, there is a lot of betting to it. You know, it's prop-based, percentages, ownership of players. Are you contrarian? If everyone's going to play LeBron, do you maybe play Luka in the spot and try to get those points that way? And the sports books put a 5-year ban on FanDuel and DraftKings, saying you're not allowed to submit for licensing and to be regulated in Nevada. Now, if they bring in a fucking NBA team, it's going to make it a lot more easier for them to be able to do so. So I just wanted to add some context to that because, you know, a lot of people, especially when you're in a city or a state where you can play and access all these apps, you don't realize that, like, yo, there's other places. That's why the disclaimers are not available in, George, you know what state it's always never available in.
Of course.
Idaho. It's always Idaho.
Fuck Idaho, man.
Every fucking app is like available in 49 states except for Idaho, you know? So I just wanted to add some context with that about FanDuel. Combo, one thing I wanted to ask you now that we have George on the show, I want to do some NBA with you. George and I always get into these conversations about what teams in the leagues need to be good, or maybe not need to be good, but when they are good, the league is just funner and better. And with the NBA, what's a team that comes to mind for you?
I mean, I love the hot takes. They do better on the internet, but this is not too much of a hot take. I would have to go with the Lakers and the Knicks, right? And the Knicks have went many years where they weren't good. The Lakers are usually good. So you have to go with those two teams. I mean, the 90s were a golden age of basketball where Chicago was good, so I would put them in there as well. But you got to go with the Lakers. You got to go with the Knicks. And then, of course, I would add Boston in there, because everybody loves a good old Celtics-Lakers rivalry.
Look, I agree with you. There's a reason why we were just having this conversation on the Monday show about, Barkley and Perkins getting into it. It's like, why aren't they talking about the Cavs? Why aren't they talking about Oklahoma City Thunder? And to me, and we got this clip going up later this week. I'm always like, what do you mean by us not talking about them, bro? Like, you guys are the ones that control narratives and conversations. Why don't you guys talk about these teams? Don't blame us for not talking about them. You guys are on network television. And your answer is correct, right? Like, the real answer is probably the Knicks, especially with how rabid the fan base is. For me, though, I'm gonna go a little left. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because I recently just rewatched The Last Dance, George, for the 18th time.
Wow.
And I've been going through all these. 20th. Yeah, dude, every 3-4 months, dude, I just bang through The Last Dance. I just get fucking fired up. The more I watch it, the more I'm like, you know what? I've wasted a lot of people's times with this GOAT debate. It gotta be MJ. I was always Team LeBron. But the reason why I say that is I watched the Bad Boys Pistons 30 for 30 as well. And
good.
Man, the Pistons at the time we're recording, they're not playing in the playing game. They're a half game out of the 4 seed. They're a top 5 seed right now in the East. And to me, bro, Combo, I think when the Pistons are good, there's something about it. Like, Detroit is such a rugged city. It's fucking gangsta over there. Like, they play tough and grimy. And, we also it's been a good couple of years for Detroit. Maybe not the Pistons, but the Lions have been making headlines and been a top team in the NFL. And now there seems to be some good energy in Detroit. And I know you wanted to talk about your viral video about Cade.
Yeah.
And Cade is having the year that everyone thought he would have when he got drafted number 1 overall. So how do you feel about the Pistons? And then how do you feel about Cade?
I'll start with Cade. The interesting thing is everybody's like, Cade took a leap. Cade did not take a leap. Cade was always great. Cade was the best player in college basketball. Cade was great with the Pistons. He just didn't have the right team around him ever. You add Malik Beasley in there who's shooting. You add Tobias Harris. I know he gets his jokes, but he's a good player. Jalen Duren's development. I think Cade just has a better team around him. And I always said people thought I was crazy. He's of that LeBron, Luka mold. Is he as athletic as LeBron? No. Is he a passing savant like Luka? No. But he's that big forward guard who makes everybody around him better. That heliocentric type offense is the best way to play with him. And I think he's an MVP sleeper. Now, of course, we're going to talk about SGA and Jokic today. They're favorites, by far, but I think he's top 5 in there. And his development in terms of his development has been just getting the right guys around him because he's always been a great player.
George, how do you feel about that?
No, it's interesting because the coach before this was who? It was Monty Williams, correct?
Yeah.
That was, when he was first coming into the league. And I was always a fan of his. And it always shocked me when the Suns made the move that they did. But I think the writing was on the wall, especially with some of these superstar type players that they just weren't connecting as well. And so I think, obviously, a new regime change has definitely helped them. But how do you feel about the young cat, too? You didn't mention Thompson, did you? Sir?
Yeah, I mean, the brothers are phenomenal. They're video game type players. With both of them, it just comes down to the shooting. And if he could get a jump shot next to Cade, I mean, that team could get even more dangerous next year. I really like him. And he just has to be able to shoot it better. But they're like absolute game changers. And I think they both, they're twins, both have all-star potential.
Yeah. No, it's a fun team to watch out for. I always just fall into this thing where in basketball, especially, you have to build your team to beat whoever is ahead of you.
Yes.
I think the Cavs have built a system that's around that. I could be wrong about this with the Pistons, but when you look at especially the 3-point category, you're like, you guys are playing well enough to be better than what you were last year. Wasn't that difficult. But you also still aren't of the mold that will get you guys past the second round of the playoffs. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this comes down to Asar development, as you said, and then Jaden Ivey has been injured this year. And Cade has kept them more than afloat without Jaden Ivey, which is really impressive. But he has some all-star potential in his own right. So I think they could be a dynamic duo moving forward. So his health is really important. And yes, JB has done a great job with this team. He's not going to win He's not going to win Coach of the Year because Kenny Atkinson will, but he's right up there in the mix as one of the best coaches in the NBA.
Nice.
Well, yo, the other thing too, right? Like I think what's cool about Detroit is all these guys, at least like the pillars of the team, have all been drafted by them.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, obviously, like you're not gonna not bring in free agents, but this is a team that's been in the lottery, bro, forever. Like,
yeah. I think we're seeing a trend of when you draft players and keep them together for a while. We saw it with Denver, right, with their duo. Drafted, kept them together. We see it with Boston. They won a championship. Drafted, kept them together. Even there was a time where they're saying they should break the two J's up. Like people were saying that. They kept them together. They kept knocking on the door. So if we could see this with the Pistons as well, I think, sky's the limit.
Yeah, bro. And then like look elsewhere in the West. Memphis, a lot of their core guys drafted, even though they've been around now for a while.
Right.
The Thunder,
Yeah.
right? The Thunder, like shit, man. I remember a couple of years ago, I think the Thunder, no exaggeration, had 25 first-round picks. Like they really just complete tear down, rebuild.
Yes.
They struck gold with the Paul George trade, which got to go down as one of the worst trades of all time, especially with Paul George no longer being there. What SGA has turned into a bona fide All-NBA first-team guy, one of the best players in the league. He's minus 700 to win the MVP. So basically, Shai has been engraved in the MVP, even though it seems like you don't agree. I also kind of don't agree with that sentiment either. I want to hold off on that because I want to finish on the Pistons. But look, man, they fired their head coach. They fired their GM. And like you said, they bring in Bickerstaff. Cade, the talent around them elevated. So then that's why Cade has taken the next step to be an all-star. Add Malik Beasley. And just, this team like 2 years ago, they were begging fans to come in. They were offering like free chicken and fucking pizza if like they would hit the attendance records and shit. Like there were $3 tickets. Like right now, it's $1 could get you into Philly to watch the 76ers with all the chaos around them. So I just wanted to talk about Detroit a little bit, man, just because, my buddy Josh, who came to visit this weekend, he's a huge Pistons fan, and he's always like, I feel like I'm so tapped in with the Pistons just because of him. And it's just cool to see like a team that I always think of like, they have those moments in time where they become a memorable franchise, right? Like, the Ben Wallace era. And then obviously you had the Bad Boys Pistons. But then it's very dark and gloomy in between that. And now you're seeing this sort of resurgence for Detroit here. Combo, I couldn't help but notice your reaction to when I said that Shai is engraved on the MVP. How do you feel about that? I feel like it's picking up more and more steam because they just played a back-to-back against one another. Shai dropped the 40 in the one spot, and then, Jokic comes back and has a monster game. He just had a 30-20-20. Basically had 2 triple-doubles, George, in one game, if you think about that, right? As the balloons are coming up, late balloon action. Late balloon action. Riverside is late to the birthday celebrations, but you know me, George. If I can get attention, I'm gonna keep it going throughout the rest of the week. Combo, your reaction was very telling. Why the reaction to me saying Shai is the MVP?
Because Jokic is the most valuable player in the NBA, and it's not even close.
Okay, now I like this debate. Is he the best player in the league though this year, right? It's the LeBron conversation. It's going back to MJ. If you go over to the NFL this year, Pat Mahomes, nowhere near the conversation for MVP. Guess who gets to the Super Bowl? And I know the timing is terrible because he played awful in the Super Bowl, but to me, on a nightly basis, SGA has been the better guy this year.
I think he's
As
part of a better team, but I can't say he's the better guy.
For sure. Now, how about some of the injuries that he's had to overcome for his roster, like Chet not being there, the biggest one, right? So like, and they're dominating. And look, it's not like Denver is the 7th seed, but they have a massive lead as the 1 seed in the West.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm leaning towards SGA. And he's had the baby steps, right? He's had the, last year they get bounced in the playoffs in the second round. And it's like, all right, they come back, they bring that same core back. And you've seen the progressions through his career. And this is like the crowning season for SGA as far as player accolades.
Yeah. So with SGA, he's a great player. But Jokic is more valuable. And it's the thing about this award is like, how much team success are you going to mix into the equation, right? How much team success are you going to mix into the equation? Because Jamal Murray wasn't playing like Jamal Murray for the first half of the season, so that kind of hurt them a little bit. Aaron Gordon's had some injuries as well. But Jokic is averaging a triple-double, 57% from the field, 43% from 3. And nobody is more valuable to their team than Nikola Jokic is to the Nuggets. I remember watching him play. I was out in Paris watching him play, and nobody ever. I've never seen anybody create advantages over the course of a game like Nikola Jokic. Then you put all the advanced metrics on top of that, which if you just look at the advanced metrics, he's the greatest player ever. I mean, we can't say he's the greatest player ever because of the resume, but I do think that Nikola Jokic is the most valuable player in the league. But SGA is great as well. I think the gap has widened between Nikola Jokic and the rest of the league, but SGA should definitely be number 2.
So a couple things there. How do you value team success in regards to MVP and accolades, right? Because like there's been, the one thing that I hate the most about the NBA is the contract incentives for making all NBA and winning these awards, because reporters and media vote on that. And I think that's crazy, bro. Because what happens if us three are at All-Star Weekend and, we have an interview scheduled with Damian Lillard? Let's just say hypothetical. Mm-hmm. And Damian Lillard, we came out there because we've been talking to his team, and, we've spent a lot of money traveling to wherever the fuck the All-Star game is. And then when we're supposed to do the interview, cold shoulder us. No show. And we're like, fuck, man, we just put ourselves in debt and we come out here. And then all 3 of us have votes. And he's clearly an all-NBA guy. And we're like, yo, fuck Damian Lillard. We're not voting for him.
It's so true. And I mean, I think a lot of NBA media try to protect their relationships. I think there's a lot of that going on because
there's that too.
Because they want access. So, yeah. I totally agree with you. There's a lot of stuff going on with all that, man. I mean, I don't think they're just saying, oh, this is the most valuable player, so let's vote for them. I mean, if you're in small town OKC, you think any NBA writer there would vote for Jokic?
Right.
They're not voting for Jokic.
Right.
Yeah,
so my question to you, and George, I would love to hear your answer too. How much do you weigh team success and individual accomplishments in the MVP? Because anyone that's been listening to this show, they know how I feel about this. Historically, you've always had to be a top 4 seed. The triple doubles are an arbitrary number. Combo, if you drop 45, 12, and 4, and I drop 12, 11, and 10, I had a better game because I have a triple double? No, it's arbitrary, bro. It's, LeBron had that one time, 45, 12, and 8. And then remember fucking Bob Sura would chase super throwback. He chased triple doubles and shoot on his own rim to get a rebound. But all right, we label it a triple double. How do you guys feel about that? Combo, I'll let you go first, about the individual success and then the team success.
I think we place too much on team success when we're comparing individual. I mean, is Robert Horry one of the greatest players ever? No. Is Jason Tatum the best? Was he the best player in the NBA last year? No. And I think I like looking at the individuals and saying, this guy is the most valuable. Now, maybe what he has around him isn't enough, right? But this guy is the best basketball player in the NBA. I like to look at how that individual plays. I could break it down even more. Like, Nick, let's say you're playing in a rec league and your team is terrible, right? Your team is terrible. You're averaging 40, but your team is 0-7. You add me, you add George, we start winning, right? We end up winning the championship. Did you become a better player overnight, or were you always the best player in that rec league?
Yeah. No, that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I relate it quickly back to football with the whole Joe Burrow situation from this year and how he clearly on paper was the MVP, but the lack of team success hurts him. So it's all a culmination of it. I think what we're really running into here is the possibility, and I don't know if this has happened on a quick Google. I wasn't able to find it, but a co-MVP situation. I know it's been done in all-star games, but like both these guys are equally as deserving. And if it ends up being that the numbers remain roughly where they're at, and the Nuggets are able to climb up to a higher seed, then I don't know. I think this year warrants it.
Narrative-wise, you talked about those games back-to-back. I mean, SGA really had a chance to steal it. He had a chance to steal it. And Nikola Jokic said something interesting, which I never thought he cared at all about awards and MVPs, but he did say, almost like lobbying for himself, I'm playing the best basketball of my life, I feel like, which is true. I mean, you could just see he's shooting 43% from three. I thought he was the best player in the NBA when he wasn't shooting that well from three, and he's shooting it better this year. But he's like, if you feel SGA deserves it, I think he's a great player, and you should give it to him. But it was interesting to see that like Jokic actually cares about this award a little bit. So that was interesting, and I do think it's Jokic all the way.
Yeah, and also Mike Malone, shout out to Queens, the 718.
Yeah, Queens gets the money.
He said if you just take player A, player B, blind resume, and you just list what they're doing this year, player B, who's Jokic in this scenario, wins it 10 out of 10. And now you have the conversation of voter fatigue. You have the conversation of, dude, this would be his fourth MVP, right? And like, to me, I hate the term voter fatigue, bro. If you're the best player in the world for that particular season, you deserve to win that award. Whether it's the NHL MVP, whether it's the NFL MVP, if Patrick Mahomes was the best, and now I'm talking about statistically, I'm not saying just reputation, name, and aura. Jokic, for the past 5 years, has been the best player in the NBA, and he's had the best seasons, honestly, even the year that Embiid won it. So I hate voter fatigue. George and I always talk about this every year whenever there's an award. Combo George showed his age with, let's have a co-MVP, right? This Gen Z. George is 26 years old. I'm not into co-MVPs. We pick one guy. Let's put our foot down, George.
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
I didn't realize that was generational, but I feel the same way as you, Nick. Like, no, I
Yeah.
want to see somebody win. I definitely want to see
One guy, George.
No,
one guy. Come on now.
I felt it when I got zero response from it, and I knew you guys were just formulating a way on how to fucking cook me. I felt that coming, but hey, the NBA is looking to generate another storyline and get more people to watch. I don't know if you have them match up and when is the award given out? It's given out at the end of the regular season.
So the award is for the regular season, but they usually
Correct,
announce
of
it
course.
like give or take game 5 of the second round, game 1 of the conference finals. Because remember, Embiid, when he won it, they had gotten bounced. And it's like, it's the same thing in the NFL, George. They wait until the night before the week before the Super Bowl, and Josh Allen wins MVP, but he just lost to Pat Mahomes. And he goes up there and shout out Buffalo. It feels good. But it's like, well, that guy's in there again, right? So,
Yep.
me as a wrestling fan, we got WrestleMania. If we knew that the Thunder and the Nuggets were going to be in the Western Conference Finals, you dangle the MVP trophy over the fucking half court. and you're like, yo, the winner takes this too. Not only do you
No,
get
no,
to
no.
go, do you represent the West? The winner takes the MVP.
Yeah, no. That's too Gen Z for you guys. I'll save that for another Gen Z basketball specific podcast. But yes,
how'd you feel about Kai Cenat saying that Barbosa is the GOAT? I mean, I know Gen Z really follows his work.
see, okay, I'm on the cusp. I do not know. He's saying Leandro Barbosa.
Yeah, that's what he said on ESPN. Hey, speaking of your
He's
OKC
wild.
Cleveland point, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, Nick, because yes, if they talked about Cleveland and OKC, it would be better for the long term of the NBA, right? But on a day-to-day, if you're talking Steph Curry, LeBron, Warriors, Lakers, you're getting more eyeballs. So I understand why they do it.
Right. So this is my counter always to these conversations. We didn't feel this way about Golden State before Curry got there.
Yeah.
We didn't feel this way about Kansas City in the NFL. Kansas City was always a good team, but it was, well, when they play someone better in the playoffs, yeah, they might win that first game, but they're going to get smoked in the second round. And that was always what was happening with Alex Smith before Mahomes gets there. Dude, I remember Chris Mullin grabbing the microphone and being like, "Hey guys, don't boo the new ownership. Don't boo them." You know, shout out Chris Mullin. You know,
Brooklyn. Or is it Queens?
NYC,
It's
baby.
Brooklyn or Queens? I think it's Brooklyn.
It's Queens, bro.
It's Queens. My fault.
Yeah, St. John's, baby. The Johnnies. We might be back.
No, but
I say we.
No, but I think Chris is from Brooklyn, though. I could be wrong.
Quick Google.
But I digress.
Power of the internet. Quick Google. Touche, sir. He is from Brooklyn.
Okay.
He's from Brooklyn. Played at St. John's.
That's right.
But you know what? We're gonna claim him, bro.
Okay.
We're gonna claim him. 718.
Yo, St. John's.
Regardless,
St. John's is good this year, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. They're gonna be fun. But you know, Chris Mullin grabs a microphone. He's like, "Guys, don't boo. We're gonna do everything we can to change it." And then they draft this dude out of Davidson, and now everyone uses the term generational, but he's a generational talent. Combo. Well, I'll save this for another time. But I've always said there's a handful of players in every single league right now that are underpaid, and all of them are the highest paid guy in the league. How many people now are Golden State Warriors fans because of Steph Curry? And now generations, fathers are going to have sons, and they're going to be like, "Dad, who'd you root for?" "Well, I rooted for the Warriors because of this guy." And now you're a fan, right? So I say all that because who knows if, dude, this could be this, and you know, Thunder fans might hate this because they thought about this back in 2011 and 2012, but maybe this is the start of the Thunder turning into the Warriors.
Yes.
You don't know if this is going to turn into them winning 3 titles in 5 years. And now they're the new team that everyone goes to. They have a marketable star in Shai.
Yeah. You know what I think it is, Nick? I think that it's because Steph and LeBron are still good. It's hard to turn to the new. It's hard to turn to the new. Yeah, we're used to it. But I agree with what you're saying.
For sure, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're still here. They're still playing at a high level.
Yeah.
But my thing is the Cleveland Cavaliers, well, they don't have a guy that, I mean, they've drafted a lot of their pieces, but like Mitchell was brought in and he was a star somewhere else. So like, does Cleveland claim him as their own? No, it's not the same as like, you know, SGA played the 1 year with the Clippers and now he's been there for so long and they've drafted a lot of the infrastructure over there. So I get it, right? We've discussed this in the past because of the people that we know and some of the circles that we're in where network television, they tell you what to talk about because of that. There's the algorithm, there's the clicks,
I mean, look, also,
there's what's trending.
If we debate, it's going to go further. If me and you debate right now, Nick, it's going to go further than if we agree.
Oh, for sure, totally.
Yeah.
So they have like the built-in arguments within that. That's why a lot of people appeal to podcasts because there's a lot more authenticity. We don't have someone to tell us, you know, we must discuss this. And yeah, do we touch on certain topics and trending topics? Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, everyone was talking about Detroit and the Chiefs in the regular season. And Georgia and I would just be like, yo, Philly's pretty good. They're probably going to be the team to beat in the NFL. So I know I've been going long-winded right now, but I think a lot of that is because of the people in the networks telling them what they need to discuss. And the Cavs have been playing so well. Dude, they won again, 15 straight wins.
Yeah,
Like
man.
they have like multiple 10-game winning streaks.
I think they might have multiple 15-game winning streaks, if I'm not mistaken.
Could be because they started off the year fucking on fire,
Yeah.
and they're the favorite right now, Combo. And I know we got to let you go soon, man. I want to end with this for the people that aren't familiar with the Cavs. Should they be the favorite right now to win the NBA Finals?
It might sound crazy, but it all comes down to Porzingis. If Porzingis is healthy, he truly makes that Celtics team unique and unbeatable. And we saw that at times when he was playing last year in the postseason and in the finals. But I love everything Cleveland's doing. And Cleveland's actions are telling me that they want to win a title. Unlike the Knicks, who are very quiet in the trade deadline. Unlike the Knicks, where Tibbs is not creating depth from playing his bench. Right? Everything the Cavs are telling me is I want to win a title. Unlike the Knicks. So I like the Cavs. I think they're great. If the Celtics have Porzingis healthy, I think they're truly unbeatable in the NBA and they win another title.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more about the Knicks. And it's funny, right? Because like we live in an era right now in the NBA where we complain because guys don't play. Yeah. And then there's a lot of Knicks fans where we're like, yo, our guys are playing too much. Like, why is, if you look at the top 10 list of minutes played in the NBA, the Knicks have 4 guys in there.
Yeah.
And like 4 of the 5 are in the top 6.
Cat was like, went back to the locker room. The game was over. Tibbs puts him back in.
I mean, bro, Brunson just got hurt. And these are like muscle injuries because of fatigue.
Yeah.
So this is the problem. This is what happened to them last year. The Knicks' strength going into the playoffs last year was their depth before everyone started dropping like flies. Like they had Hart on the bench, DiVincenzo on the bench, Bogdanovich coming off the bench. And then before you know it, all these guys are hurt and Deuce got to play 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Who would have been another heat check guy off the bench. So it's a gift and a curse. And it's just funny with the NBA, right? Because we're like, dude, Embiid's sitting again. Fucking Kawhi sitting again. Why is LeBron out? And then as a Knicks fan, I'm like, why the fuck does Josh Hart have 47 minutes played? It's only 48 in the game. So it's just funny. But to your point, man, I think it's still Boston. I have a future on Celtics Thunder being the finals at 11-1.
It's a good bet.
Feel really, really good about that.
It's a good bet.
I had you on the show when we did that little preview, and I said, I'm taking a round robin of these 4 teams. The highest one was 9-1, and it was Nuggets Celtics, Nuggets Knicks, Thunder Knicks, Thunder Celtics. So if I could just get those to be the finals, gonna have a nice little profit.
Our episodes always age well. We definitely said Sixers were the under.
The under, yeah.
Oh my, and man, are they under? Whoa.
Bro, that under after 10 games, you knew that shit was a lock.
Yeah.
It's just, Combo, we've talked about it with George, and we'll let you go after this one, man. I appreciate your time, and we'll give you a chance to plug everything that you're working on because you're fucking grinding it out. And one of my favorite things about you, bro, I said it from the beginning, not only are you a New Yorker, so you understand the hustle, but the hustle is a real thing. And I like how active you've been getting on your social media and all these different shows you're doing. And,
thank you.
Just weather the storm, bro. Like I tell everybody, I don't really have a crazy redeeming quality. I just think I have an awesome personality and I'm very, very persistent. It's a gift and a curse. It's why I've been single for so long, but it's also why I'm having a lot of success in this content space. But the thing I wanted to just ask you and tell you is George and I, we talk about this all the time. Sometimes the red flags are right there. No matter how hot the girl looks at the bar, there's a lot of red flags. And it was the 49ers this year in the NFL. Their fucking first round pick got shot, bro. Like, what more of a red flag is that, right? And then the Sixers, they signed all these guys that are just injured all the time, and they were injured coming into the year. So how can you expect them to be there in March and April when they can't even be there in October? So, yeah, a lot of the content that we be doing, because I like my favorite thing in the NBA. I don't like betting on a nightly basis. I love NBA playoffs, and then I love the future outlook on things. So that's why it's always fun to have you on the show, bro.
Yo, it's great seeing your progression as well. As I said it, I remember when you were grinding it out in your home in Queens. And that was an awesome studio. I really loved it there. We had some great shows there. But to see what you're doing now is truly amazing. And I appreciate all your work, and I'm always tuned in. And George, great to meet you. I see you guys doing a lot of work together. I have to ask you this before I leave, because Cam even said this. He's like, if you're chasing guests, you don't even have a show, right? So to you, is it more valuable to build something with co-hosts over time, or is it more valuable to having a guest-based show, or is it a combination of both? Because what I'm doing now is a little bit combination of both. I have some shows where I'm a co-host. I have my show, Combos Court, very guest-based. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll let you. I mean, I always feel that building the co-host relationship is most important, because then, bro, you can lock that in no matter what moving forward.
Fair, yeah.
And the people are, even in a guest-based show, people are showing up for you, not the guest. That's the thing that I always tell myself. Like, sure, are their followers gonna come on over? Of course, but they're coming for me at the end of the day. Like, it's Combos Court, this is VM. They're coming for Nick and I. So that's the way I feel.
Yeah, I have a lot to say, and I know we got to let you go, but this is a fucking banger question. I will always gravitate towards building a relationship with my co-host and having that be built in, because in the end of the day, they're kind of a guest also that brings a certain flair to the show. It's hard in this space, though, Combo, to find someone that aligns with what your vision is, right? I don't want to sound cliche, but the one thing I pride myself on, whenever someone tries to punk me on like, yo, you've been doing this show too long. And I mean, not so much now, because like a lot of things have worked out, right? But in the beginning, people will be like, oh, dude, your platform isn't as big. Why are you doing all this stuff?
That's weird statements. That's
yeah. I mean, it's hater shit, right? Like, it's hater shit. But like, what I'm saying is, I've always prided myself on people come to listen for me, right? And I know it could be egotistical, but like, if I have 1,000 people that listen to every episode, now I'm lucky enough that it's thousands of people that listen to these shows and consume the content. They're coming for George and I.
Right.
And then when we throw them a combo, a Stephen A. Smith, a Treasure Wilson, it's like, okay, now we inherit their fan base as well. But I don't like guest dependent shows at all. Okay. Because, all right, I'll listen to, say I listen to Combo because he has Jalen Brunson on. But then when you have Jalen Brunson on, I know nothing about you because it's only about the guests and you're highlighting the guests.
Yes.
Like, people know about George and I. When we talk about, that opening banter segment is very important, man. It's calculated, bro. George and I are not just shooting the shit for fun.
Right.
It's fun, but you get to understand our personalities and what we do on the daily. It's very relatable. So I'm always pro. People have to come for you. You could find the points per game and the analytics anywhere.
Yeah.
But you got to come for the personality and the vibe. And then from there, you could expand with guests, because guests will always be available.
Right. I got to plug in my laptop. George, you have anything to say real quick before I sign out?
Yeah, I'll fill in. This is what I do here as a co-host. I just find a way to fill time. Nick, a fancy little LED sign is what we need behind you, is what I was thinking, honestly. Something that
I'm gonna build out a set. I'm gonna build out a set in here now that we're gonna be doing this a lot more consistently, and I have some ideas for some content. But yeah, man, George, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna do Patreon. We'll let Combo sign off. Combo, it was a pleasure, bro, as always. Let the people know what you're working on and where they can find you.
Combos Court, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find me on Instagram at 12combo. That's ONETWOCOMBO. You can catch me on B-Ball Breakdown live shows. You can catch me on the Good Joe podcast talking skill development. And I got a debate show called He's With Us. So you can catch those clips on Instagram, 12combo. And subscribe to Combos Court. And thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. This is always fun. Hope to do it again soon.
I'm going to be back in New York end of April, early May, bro. Let's try to link up.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome, bro. Let's do it.
All right, bro.
Later.
Peace.
Shout out to Combo. Thank you for joining us, bro. As always fun conversations with you. Make sure we'll have all of the social medias of his in the description of the episode. But before we end the show, patreon.com/veteransminimum. Shout out to Arabia Tillery, Mahua Patel, Thomas Robinson, Abel Rezin, Ben Kotzian, Christopher Velasquez, Derek Plades, Devin Rendon, Dylan Chadwick, Jerry Shapiro, Jordan Riley, Mike Stevens, Nicholas Messina, and Nick Crummage. Thank you all for your contributions to the Patreon. Remember, for $1 American, that's all we're asking for. You could join the Patreon for $5 a month. You get access to the Discord. You get the betting picks. You get the shout outs if you go to the higher tier. There's a bunch of cool stuff that you get. And we're going to announce a giveaway for the month of March on the Monday show that we'll be doing. A couple fun stuff, maybe a merch bundle from the store for whoever it is that wins this. George, before we go, you had something you were pretty fired up about.
I did, but I had to ask this first just because it would be a disservice to not ask. Have you hooped with Combo before?
I have not. No, I haven't.
Okay.
I actually met him through one of my good friends back home that they would hoop together. But, you know, he played professionally, bro. If you guys go back and listen to a podcast and chill way back when I first had him on the show, he played overseas. I believe it was in Israel that he played. He played for about a decade. And then injuries piled up and, you know, he came back stateside. And, yeah, we connected like that, bro.
Yeah, no, I had to ask because I've seen it on his Instagram before, like some old clips of him playing. I'm like, he could hoop. He could hoop.
Yeah.
So I just needed to know if there was ever a one-on-one situation there. But yeah, no, you had brought up what I was fired up about, and it's just the timing couldn't be any perfect, right? Right now we're heading into the pro days for these college football teams. And then the NFL draft coming up in April. So one of the reports that I saw, or headlines on ESPN today, was Stephen A. Smith calling out the bullshit that some of these teams have been saying about Shedeur Sanders. So if you're not familiar, Shedeur has kind of had a polarizing offseason leading up to the NFL draft. He didn't participate in any throwing drills at the Shrine Combine. He elected not to do any of the drills or anything at the NFL Combine. He's saving everything for the pro day. However, he did interview at the NFL Combine, and he made the statement, there should be no question why a franchise should pick me. And it's like little things like this, right, that start to make us believe, like, okay, is he doing this because his father is kind of like has molded him to do this? Is it just naturally in the bloodline for them to be this confident? But it's rubbed a lot of NFL teams the wrong way, especially a lot of the people that have come out, no specific teams, obviously, but saying that the way that Shedeur was answering questions was arrogant. And if they're saying that, and the reports are coming out, and he said that publicly, Shedeur did at the NFL Combine, I do think this is like one of the worst things you could possibly do leading up to making generational money. And he's already made a lot of money this past year, but it's like, bro, you have to understand that, like, you haven't even made the bag yet. And there's some things that you got to do on the process to making the bag that are annoying. And giving out answers like that, to me, is kind of sus. And the reason why I said this is all timely is because LeBron confronts Stephen A. Smith about saying, hey, don't talk to my son. What the fuck is Dion saying to Stephen A. Smith to make sure that, you know, Shedeur stays at the top? How do you feel about this whole situation, Nick?
Bro, there's so much to unpack. And one thing that I absolutely hate, bro.
Yeah.
Anonymous sources.
Same.
Bro, tell us how you feel, bro. Why is everyone so scared to just tell you how they feel? I tell everybody how I feel. I've always prided myself, George, my whole life. You're always going to know where you stand with me. George, if you and I, one day, I just stopped texting you, and it wouldn't be me stop texting you. I'd be like, yo, George, listen, I didn't like what you did over there. I didn't like what you're doing on the show. I don't like what you're doing with the social media. Hypothetical. You're crushing it, bro. Big ups. We haven't given George a round of applause in a couple episodes. So round of applause for George. But hypothetically speaking, I hate the anonymous source. Say
Right.
it with your chest, bro. What are you worried about? If you feel this way about someone, you know what? They'd respect you more if you tell them how you feel. I have a friend that I no longer speak to. We grew up together. We knew each other since we were 11 years old. And we had a fallout. And both of us, like men, we exchanged a phone call. And I was like, yo, bro, I don't like you. I don't think you respect me as a man. And just so you know, anything that someone tells you that I've said about you, it's true. I'm going to continue to say that you're a piece of shit. And I'm a piece of shit too. We're on the same page because he told me that stuff too. There was no anonymous, yo, I heard someone
Back
said
and
this
forth.
about Nick. No,
Yeah.
like, bro. And guess what, dude? I'll tell you this much. I respect that guy because I have a lot of people that when I go back home, it's like, oh my God, Nick, it's so good to see you. And then from my reliable sources, the guys that were out here in Vegas, the people that I interact with the most, they're like, yo, bro, there was yapping. They were yapping. So I know I kind of went off on a tangent. I hate anonymous sources. Just say it, yo. Why you gotta hide behind something? Just say it. It's like the keyboard warrior thing, right?
Yeah.
Last week, and even in private, Mace said something, and I think it's his best take of all time. Shout out to Mace from It Is What It Is. He says that it's the same thing in like relationships. The thing that you once liked about someone can be the exact same thing that you dislike about them later on. And the examples he gives, when a girl says that they want a man that takes initiative and is assertive, in the beginning, they love that about George. But then when George and her break up, you know what they're going to say about George? Oh, he was controlling.
Right.
If Nick is ambitious and hungry and he's so dedicated, then he's a narcissist and he's all about himself when we break up. It's the same thing with athletes and quarterbacks. I like what Sanders said. Like, yo, I'm going to change your franchise. You pick me, you're going to make a great decision. I'm going to alter the trajectory of your franchise. If I don't like him as a prospect, I'm going to say he's full of himself and he's conceited. He's arrogant. We're saying the same thing. It's just how I feel about you. It's the same thing with, bro, like, yo, I've been in relationships with girls that ended up being thoughts, but it was them being thoughts that attracted me. Them being in the bikinis, them
Very
being
true.
the bottle girls. You know,
Nice.
I've indulged in strip club culture before, right? And it's like, how am I going to be mad at you if that's what I was attracted to? But in the beginning, it's like, damn, bro, she's bad. She's a good time. But later on, it's like, yo, I can't be with that because she's out every night and she's partying and her network is crazy, like crazy in the bad sense, right? But it's like, yo, you're making your money, you're doing your thing. So the same thing I liked about her, now I'm shitting on it. And it's the same thing in this scenario, and I think in a lot of things, you know. And shout out to Mace. I told him, I was like, yo, I think it's your best take because I've always thought that, but I never was able to articulate it the way he did. And I'm like, bro, this is amazing. And it's the same thing, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in your workspace, whether it's an athlete that you like. If you like them, you'll find the green flags. If you dislike them, you'll find the red flags. And oftentimes they're walking a very thin line besides each other.
I think you stated that extremely well. And I feel slightly okay. I appreciate the confidence that he brings to it. And I definitely agree that those teams that are fucking being bitch made and not stating who they are, you know, that but that's the way that this part of the process has always operated. You know, it's like having people sign NDAs at tech companies because you don't want the secrets and the ideas getting out. I mean, we're talking $100 million investments when you're talking to quarterbacks. Fucking these people are making Nick quarters of billions of dollars. $500 million is what Patrick Mahomes is going to make or end up making in his career. So you have to be smart. You have to be calculated. And that's why I'm saying, okay, I have no issue with you being confident. this is the same shit we were saying with Caleb Williams last year. And what Caleb Williams was doing, bro cried at the end of a game and he painted his fingernails. And we were worried about him being a starting quarterback. Shedeur didn't even, they got crushed in their bowl game. They didn't make the college football playoff. Sure, was the team better on paper, record-wise? Of course. But growth as an athlete and a player, I don't know, bro. You didn't win a Heisman. Like, think about it. There's a lot of things that you haven't done that I feel makes it very tough for you to be able to say, I'm the guy that's going to change your franchise. And maybe it's just bold. I've never been like that. I've been let me prove it to you first. Let me just say what I need to say to get into the door. But then once I'm there, I'm going to outwork everybody else. And I'm going to then be able to make that statement once I'm at the top. But I don't know. Maybe he is going to be the Jaden Daniels of this upcoming draft class. I don't know.
I strongly disagree with you in this one sense of every opportunity that I've gotten in my life in this content space is because when I was given an opportunity to speak up for myself, I did. And I told people exactly how I felt. And it continues to be the case to this day. I always felt that I was the best in front and behind the camera. I don't go around telling everybody, but if I'm interviewing with the Win, like I did, and they were like, hey, Blue Wire at the time,
It's true.
we're looking for a person that could be great in front of the camera, behind the camera, could produce the show, and is very knowledgeable in sports betting. Nick, do you happen to know anyone? You and I are not talking if I said, yeah, I know someone. We're not talking, bro. I don't end up moving out here. Because
Facts.
through that, I started working with Will Blackman on Upsets and Underdogs. I became a co-host. Then I started getting tapped in with Jeremiah and all the guys at the studio who now are my coworkers and my boss. And then an opportunity opened up on my own money. I flew out to Vegas, UFC weekend 272 with my friend Nick, boss, who I used to do the show with. And I was like, yo, bro, I'm a part of this network. Let's fly out to Vegas, man. We'll celebrate my birthday out there. We'll go and record at this fucking wicked ass studio. Let's do it. Let's take that risk. Let's bet on ourselves. Let's invest in ourselves, which is what I did. I wasn't making a lot of money, dude. I was telling you, I was making $450 a week, $500, right? And my dad threw me $200 for my birthday. It was like, here, go out to Vegas and do your thing. And through that, I get the opportunity. I meet Jeremiah, and he's like, dude, I need you out here. You're the exact guy I need out here. You're so versatile. You're so good at you're good at everything. You're not great at one thing, right? Now I've become great at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that all started because when I was asked, how do I feel about my work and my content? That humble shit, it's cool, bro. Like when people meet me, I'm like, yo, I appreciate it. Nick, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Nick, do you know who we can get to fill in as a co-host for It Is What It Is when Stat is in it? Yo, what's good, bro? Give me a chance. Let me get out there. I'll throw on a suit. Hey, Nick, do you know someone that could edit and produce the show for me? This is when Cameron called me. Yeah, bro, what's good? Talk to me. What you need? How quick of a turnaround do you need? How many clips do you need? How often are you shooting? If I was just like, oh yeah, I'll find someone for you, bro. Nah, man, nah. And I put in fucking mad hours, dude. Mad hours to get to this point. So to bring it back to Shedeur, to bring it back to any athlete, to bring it back to anybody, bro. Be humble, but when you're asked about how good you are, they're trying to get that out of you to see if you can be that person. And
Agreed.
That's
I like it.
how it gotta be. That's how it gotta be.
I definitely, I'm being swayed. I'm being swayed by your response right now because
George, real quick, just staying with this, right? And we recently just went out to Portland together, and you shot the vlog, and you know, a lot of people have hit me up about yo, who was shooting, you know, that was really good. And now like more eyes are getting on you for your stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I say all that because, bro, there's opportunities, no matter how big or small the platform, that you're building a digital resume, right? I haven't given out my resume from school or like where I worked out, not even to
Ever?
move to Vegas. No, not
Yeah.
ever, but not
Yeah.
even to like move out to Vegas. And now I've gotten so confident in my work and my craft, and of course who I'm affiliated with. We're like, bro, what are you gonna tell me, dude? I produce one of the hottest shows in the world right now. Like, you gonna tell me I don't know what I'm doing? No, you're just a
Right.
hater if that's the case. And everything that I was doing all these years, I'm doing the same exact shit. I haven't changed nothing, bro. I haven't changed. I'm editing the same way as I do on Premiere. I used to be Final Cut. Now it's Premiere. I'm using the clips the same way. I'm putting the location of the artwork the same way. You know, the PNG logo. It's all the same. But you know what else also, bro? The reason why I got this way, George, is because I know the work I've put into this stuff. I'm not going out here like in jiu-jitsu and I'm like, yo, I could tap everyone here on the mat. No, I can't. I haven't put that work in yet. I could get a couple people, and I could hold my own against almost anybody, but it's not like that until you put in the work. So the confidence and the cockiness, that comes from like actually putting in work. And you have to put your foot down and speak up, man, when the time comes.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I get it. I get it. I've never been in a situation where I'm interviewing for tens of millions of dollars. It's very okay, like he's just this is just who he is. He's not shaken by it whatsoever. I do think that other people give brash and arrogant answers in these draft combine things too. He's not the only person that fucking walks around saying, no, I am the best at this position and that's why you should take me. I do think there's a tone behind it. You know what I mean? And I think that there's a I am him, and then there is a I do everything it takes to be him, so don't have a doubt about that. Like I do think that he's coming off more as I'm a two-time Heisman Trophy winner. I have won national championships. I am going to replicate this play for you. And I think that there's a tone that we're missing in all of this that you can't get through paper, that is very important in what we're discussing here too.
You know what that goes back to? Whether or not you like the person to begin with, bro. What we said before, it literally comes back to that. If all these years you were like, dude, I fucking love Shedeur Sanders, or I love Cam Ward, or I like Dart. If you like these guys, all the things that you're saying about them are green flags. If I dislike these guys, I'm going to be, he's brash, he's arrogant, he's full of himself, he hasn't won a Heisman, he hasn't made the college football playoff. But I'm someone that's like, yo, I want my quarterback from Wyoming, Josh Allen, from Texas Tech, Pat Mahomes. Yeah, you get your LSU Joe Burrows, but you know what also, bro? He had to leave Ohio State. Yeah. He had some adversity. You know, Purdue, Drew Brees played at fucking Purdue. How many wide receivers have they got go to the draft? Right. And then you have on the flip side, like, I was a little excited when we took Daniel Jones out of Duke. I'm like, yo, if you could make Duke a confident program, that's pretty dope. You know why? Because why haven't Alabama produced high-end quarterbacks? Like, Tua's the best quarterback they produced. And, you know, the jury's out on him. Everything needs to be perfect for it to be perfect. And he's a hell of a quarterback when everything is perfect and it's 83 degrees and all the weapons are available. He could put up points. But when it's under 40 degrees, it's night-night. Shout out Steph Curry. Yeah. And so, to me, it goes back to what we said before, what May said. How you feel about him and how I feel about him, it all is predicated off how we really feel and like about him. If we like the Shedeur Sanders, these are all green flags. If we hate him and are finding reasons to dislike him, they're all red flags. So, full disclosure, George and I were struggling to put together another convo for this, and we just banged out 20 minutes. And I think this
Yeah.
is some of our best work.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is because I'm thinking about it more. There's something about quarterbacks that it's just so easy to tell when they fail. And when they fail, I'm a sick fuck and I like seeing it. Like I like seeing teams make a horrible decision and a player not living up to expectations that they've set for themselves. Like I fucking love it. I think that's just as much. I don't want you to be in the middle. I either want you to fucking be over exceed expectations or I want you to suck so bad that everybody is questioning what happens. I think you get that with him. I don't think there's any in between. Like I think he's either he's gonna shut me and people like me up that don't think he has it, or you know, they're getting a first round, they're getting a top 5 pick next year, whatever team he's going to.
Yeah, and bro, just think of like off the top of my head, I think of the Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson draft class, right? I saw Zach Wilson make one throw at a BYU pro day where he rolled out to his left and he threw it. It was a dime
65 yards.
the other way, back shoulder.
Yeah.
And he went number 2 overall.
Mhm.
And then I was just like, yo, what about Trevor Lawrence? He won a national championship, played at Clemson. Body of work is great. And it's like, well, all the things I disliked about Zach Wilson, I always would nitpick at. But then he went toe-to-toe with Mahomes on a primetime game. But I could still be like, oh, you know, that was an outlier, it was a fluke. So it goes back to what we were saying, man. If you like something about someone, you're gonna highlight it. Yeah. And then if you dislike it, you're gonna highlight that too. So I just think for me, don't be anonymous. Say it with your chest, what it is that's on your mind. People will respect you for it more. And in the end of the day, when it comes to the draft stuff, I know there's a lot of money involved. There's livelihoods at stake. You make one decision where you put a person's name on a piece of paper, and that's going to determine whether or not you're renting or getting a mortgage in that city and you're staying there. And then the scouting department has to do the same thing too. So it's a wild crapshoot though, because even Trevor Lawrence was the biggest prospect since Andrew Luck, and people are like, "What's he done?"
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's just it's juicy. It's juicy, man. NFL draft pro days coming up, so maybe Shedeur does some cool shit at his pro day. It would be crazy if he elected to on the day of just to be like, hey, yo, I don't need to do any of this shit. I'm out. It would be wild. I wouldn't put it past him. Don't be surprised if you see that headline.
I mean, bro, let's just use this as an example before we wrap up. Cam Ward decided to sit out the second half of that bowl game he played in. If I don't like Cam Ward, I could be like, he quit on his team.
Yeah. Very true.
Right? So like,
very true.
It all depends. And I'm telling you guys, listeners of the show, people that are going to see this clip, because I fucking love this conversation that we're having. It's not just football players, basketball players, it's life. It's the girl at the bar. It's your significant other. The 22 percenters. It could be your plus one. It could be your boyfriend. The things you like about them are going to be the things you hate about them when they break up. Because, bro, I'm thinking about girls that I've dated my whole life. And I'm thinking about the things that I once liked about them became the things I dislike about them.
Yeah.
And that's the case across the board with everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. After we let Combo leave, George and I were trying to figure out what we could, add another topic. And George felt this way about Shedeur Sanders in the comments. And then, this is fun. I really like this conversation, bro. Because I'm gonna post a 10 slide carousel about it because I thought it was that fucking good. Let us know what you guys think. All things Veterans Minimum are at Veterans Minimum. George, your background looks sensational in comparison to mine. I'm getting a lot of inspiration from it. I'm gonna have some cool shit over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to too. I mean, I got blessed. I didn't have to find any of this. Real wood panels here too. By the way, this isn't no like wallpaper. This is
Wow.
fucking
Good
thick.
wood.
Yeah, no, it's good wood. And yeah, everybody who listens, this upcoming Wednesday. So I think the date is going to be, I'll tell you right now. Oh, yeah, the 19th. The 19th, I am going to be releasing the pin and pull cash cab video that I filmed 2 weeks ago. It's just like cash cab. We call it Ride for Riches. Make sure you subscribe to Pin and Pool. It'll be up next Wednesday.
Oh yeah, send the collab over to VM when you do it.
I will.
Definitely, you got the green light for that. I would love people to go and check that out. But yeah, man, all things Veterans Minimum or at Veterans Minimum. Monday we'll be back in the studio. And yeah, at Nick Day is 10 as you can find me. That's Mr_George_Carmona. Pin and pull, Veterans Minimum. Shout out to the Knicks. Shout out to Combo. And shout out to all of you listeners of VM. We'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.